we all do cold calls. We all quote people. They're like, send me some brochures. Like, chances are, if you email somebody, I know my Gmail gets about, I don't know, 150 emails a second. So chances are, if you send brochures to people, they're just going to get buried. They're never going to see them. Plus, they're working or doing whatever. So if you don't do a one call close or gain their trust where they just take your word for it, you got to do something different. So what I have done is I already know what product lineup I'm going to generally do. I like the MedMutual products. So I pair those with either Manhattan or Philly, and that seems like the most comprehensive coverage you can get on the indemnity with the stop loss plan out there, aside from doing like an indemnity with a ACA plan or something, where a lot of these folks that we talk to are like, there's no way I'd rather die than take an ACA plan, so you got to cross that bridge, and that's where MedMutual comes in. So what I've been doing is I'm going to give you an example of a lead that I just recently got. Let me see, let me share. I can share my desktop, right?
Yeah, you're all good, Zach. You should be able to share. Your host.
Got it. Dang it. All right, see my desktop? All right, cool.
You're good.
All right, so for this scenario, this client is in Mississippi. He's currently got a United plan with no details on what the premium is. So with, deducing what it could possibly be, we all know that it could either be A, Golden Rule, or B, Freedom Life US Health, unless they have some type of group plan that they have a leveled premium with some type of third party like Paycheck Services. I know a company called Paychex does business with United where they have like different tiered, but that's usually a very small percentage. Now, a lot of times you'll talk to people that have a Golden Rule plan that have one of the grandfather Golden Rule plans that came out like right after the ACA came out. And a lot of times those folks are easy to flip because United's basically trying to price them out of that plan. Each year it's astronomically expensive on the increase, but they're afraid to make a change because they think this is the only thing that's available outside of the ACA. So knowing that it's possibly one of those two, and I want everybody to take note of that it's either going to be Golden Rule or Freedom Life. And if it's Freedom Life, get with your upline, get with me or whatever. There are some pretty important points on Freedom Life that are used to easily sway somebody to a different side. For instance, most Freedom Life plans have in their fine print a thing called the Premier Med Upgrade, where if they have something catastrophic happen, they can upgrade their plan for a one-time $3,000 payment. Now, that doesn't guarantee benefits and say that 100% of everything is going to get covered. A larger portion is going to get covered. But what people what fail to realize is that it is a one-time use rider. It's basically a short-term plan built into their indemnity. If they use that rider, then US Health Freedom Life reserves the right to jack up their premium to recoup their loss for the rest of that calendar year. And then they will get a non-renewal notice to be booted off at the end of the year. So that puts those people in a predicament. They're either going to end up with an ACA plan or they're going to struggle to find another private plan because they have a pre-existing condition of whatever it was that they had to use that rider for. So that's usually a pretty good way of explaining to people why that plan sucks. And then I talk about how, it's a certificate of insurance. That's why you had to sign up for this weird association for Hewitt Packard and 1-800-Flowers discounts and all these other random things. And when it's almost like a passive aggressive way to be like, this plan sucks. Here, let me tell you about this. So what I've been doing, and I gave access to most of the managers within our group, but I create Zoom clips. So if you have a Zoom workplace right now, you already have access to this thing called clips. So what this does is I'll have my screen open right here where I'll have like the affordable choice brochure on one side, and then I'll have the MedMutual products that I'm going to go over, on the right side. And what I do, and I don't think I can open it at the same time that, I'm giving this presentation, but when you open Zoom clips, it'll put a box right here or wherever you want it to be of you talking, like I'm talking right now. So what I do is I record myself in a 5 to 6 minute video talking about the plan. So I talk about the affordable choice. I'm like, hey, this is Zach. This is kind of a weird on the spot type thing, but like, Hey Ken, I understand that you, the wife, and the kid have a plan with United. I'm a former Freedom Life U.S. Health agent. If that is something that you guys currently have, there are a lot of recommendations that I have for you, but for most part, this is where I start, and here's why. This plan right here is your day-to-day stuff. There's no deductibles or co-insurance. You get doctor rollovers, progressive benefits the first 5 years. It's tiered pricing, because you're 53 years old, you're already in the old man bracket. So you can see price consistency over the time. And I use humor too, by the way. Like I like to, poke fun, say you're in the old man bracket. Like this will carry all the way to Medicare, guaranteed renewable, $1 million a year, $5 million total. You're still alive after $5 million. Obamacare is going to be the only thing that can take you at that point. I don't really cover these scenarios right here. One of the things I like to use is I skip the hospital portion right here. And I say, this is your soup to nuts. This is your day-to-day stuff. This is your runny nose, the heart issues, prescriptions, doctor visits, preventative, imaging, all this stuff. Usually I quote people on Elite or Classic Plus. Elite Plus, depending on what they're currently paying, is where, I'll enter that in. And I'll explain my rationale in a second. But I basically talk about the differences between the two as being like a Honda and an Acura. Mechanically, they're the same car. One's got a pricier tag on it because it has a little bit more as far as bells and whistles. This one obviously has a little bit more as far as initial benefits for hospitalization, throws a few more bucks for X, Y, and Z. But if you're going to the doctor, a couple times a year, you take a, blood pressure pill, the Honda might be a good option for you. And again, here's the tiered stuff. I really don't go in depth on this plan. First Health Network, which is owned by Aetna, it's a subsidiary, them in Coventry. There's a bunch of other stuff that's really good, additions, free telemedicine, doesn't count against any of your visits, blah, blah, blah. But the real reason why you have health insurance, the whole reason, the premise behind health insurance is to make sure you as a business owner, as a self-employed person, does not get financially ruined from a massive, medical bill. So we know that if you have a plan right now that's indemnity only, that's only going to pay out, a daily amount. So you have no stop loss before, the plan's picking up 100%. So over here, we have a plan through MedMutual Protect, which is your sickness stop loss. This is everything from COVID to cancer. You can see all the different ailments right here. And the way that I set it up is you have a $5,000 deductible, 100% co-insurance, up to $1 million per year per insured with wellness. And this is inpatient and outpatient. So going back to the original, if we're using the Elite as an example, let's say you have COVID-19 and you're hospitalized for 3 days, okay? As soon as you're admitted into the hospital, you have that initial admission benefit and then the hospital confinement benefit on the daily amount. So you have the initial admission benefit and then $4,000 a day. We'll add all those together, subtract the $5,000 to cover your deductible because they're both paying. Now you're at 100% for that entire stay that you're in the hospital for up to $1 million per year. That's a pretty good deal. So, and if you do math well, you can give an explanation of, hey, this is how much all this totaled in this scenario, subtract that, and then the difference, the excess indemnity or the overage, however you want to explain it in your video, actually goes back to the client. So in the scenario here, if there's 12 grand here and 2 grand here, that's $14,000. 14 minus 5 is 9. There's a $9,000 excess indemnity. And then they had 100% coverage for that stay in the hospital for COVID. Well, maybe they're a home builder. They fall off the roof of their house. Well, that's obviously not a specified disease. That falls under the accident side. So if you haven't already explored it, because you were looking at specified disease only, MedMutual has an accident plan that mirrors their specified disease. So again, it's a $5,000 deductible, 100% co-insurance, $1 million max. And what's important on these too, and which is a good selling point, is it's not just inpatient, it's also outpatient. So say they broke their femur and they required a surgery. They get their surgery done, but now that they have follow-on physical therapy to learn how to walk again, once they hit the deductible, they're at 100% to $1 million per year, which includes accidental coverages for both inpatient and outpatient. So I'm over explaining everything right now, but what is generally the theme that I've learned here is that if you're able to do this in like 5 minutes, so people that you're talking to inherently don't understand all of this. They just don't. I mean, even excuse me, new agents that are coming on, it's a lot to digest, and you are in fact an insurance agent. So take all of this information that you have at your disposal and pretend that you're pitching it to a fourth grader. And it's not to insult the intelligence of whoever you're talking to. It's to tailor it to the lowest common denominator, whether you're talking to an engineer that's self-employed or Farmer Fran in the bayou of Louisiana that's out gator fishing. You have to be able to give it to them to where they can digest it. So that's where the 5 minutes come in. They see my face. They see that I'm a real person. I'm not calling from India, and that I'm not trying to scam them. I talk about this. I talk about this. I bundle it all up. And then what's nice about Zoom clips is that AI will do dictation of everything. It'll give a summarization, at the bottom of the video, and then it'll list out the different chapters of what you talked about. And then you fire it off. I have done so last week and the week before, at least 2 different times, I wasn't able to get a hold of a client at all on any of my leads that I had. I literally sent my contact card from my iPhone to their iPhone or their Android or whatever. And then I followed up with a link from Zoom to this 5 minute thing. Said, hey, I haven't been able to get in contact with you. Instead of sending you random brochures of what I'm recommending, take a look at this short video. And then whatever account email that you have associated with Zoom is going to tell you if they looked at it or not. So then you know that they actually looked at it. And I've had great success. Even I had a very sizable deal. Where is he at on the board? I think I erased him, but it was like $1,400 a month. And I didn't even talk to the guy until it was time to do the application and really go over everything. So I sent the video to him. Hey, you're busy. Couldn't get a hold of you. Check this out. And then let's talk. And he's like, this looks pretty good, man. A lot better than what I got. And then you discuss the details and you do the application. So I highly recommend, if you're not having any success with, calling a million times or emailing brochures or whatnot, look at something like this. It's more interactive. It's easier for people to see. They can see that you're a real person, you're going above and beyond, and it really does not take much. It's a 5 minute endeavor that, let's see, on a $1,400 deal on a 6 month advance. Let's see. I mean, you're looking at like $2,500 for something that took me 5 minutes to create. And I might not have ever got a hold of that guy had I not, done something like that. So I'm not saying this is going to be the savior for everybody, but it's just another tool you can put in your box that's helpful. What else was I going to say? Oh, if you get a lead, what I have found too, if you get a lead that does not have a figure in the lead, like saying that they are paying $1,100 a month, because obviously, there's a challenge. Deals that I do are I actually write plans that are paying more than what they were paying before, but they see that added value benefit of a stop loss and protecting their financial interest. My main objective when I talk to these people are really drilling down. The whole point of health insurance is, yeah, sure, you get to go to the doctor and urgent care. That's great. But I'm going to make sure that you're not financially ruined, if your pancreas explodes. That's really what the selling point is. And when that logic kind of sinks in with these people, they're like, never really thought about that way, but you're right. I don't know, lose my shirt if, something unforeseen happens, even though I'm healthy today. So I recommend doing that. And if there's no information on what they're currently paying, I will do the same thing where I talk about this, and this in 5 minutes, but I won't discuss the price point. I'll just say there's pricing consistency, benefits go up each year, 25% on this. You're already in this tier, so the price points, don't generally change. Yada, yada, yada. You can roll over doctor's visits. Even if you take a $5 blood pressure pill, they're going to pay out, $50 per prescription fill. After obviously that pre-existing stuff. And then once I actually get them to bite, then I'll discuss pricing. If I already know what they're paying, then I'll go in with all this plus the pricing. Because that's an obvious added incentive. Hey, I'm paying $1,100 now. Now I'm going to be at $747. makes sense for me to do that. I want to hear this guy out. I know I've been talking nonstop. Let me pause for any questions.
Yeah, Zach, there's some in the chat, so I'll read them to you, just so it's easier for you. So Alan Katz said, are you giving quotes in the video? So I guess you just answered that question. You're not giving quotes unless you know how much they're paying.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Because, and the reason, and the true rationale behind that is because if it is in fact a figure like the one that I'm going to do here in a little bit, even on the Classic Plus with the Med Mutual, he's going to be over $1,000 for 3 people. So I got to see what he's paying right now on United. He could be on some horrible plan and paying $500 and think that's the benchmark, or he could have some golden rule plan that he's paying $1,500 a month. I don't know. So if I go in and automatically say, hey, this is going to be $1,100, talk to me, he could be like, ugh, have this preconceived notion that that's ridiculous and never respond. So I want to have the opportunity to be able to have a conversation with them and give, value if I need to, if the price point isn't consistent with what he's expecting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so something else here, even if you're not selling ACA, make yourself familiar with how Health Sherpa works, because you can build value with this coverage by showing them what an alternative coverage would cost.
Yep.
So you come here with this, so you come here with this and you show them it's $1,000, but if you go to the marketplace, showing them the same coverage in a major medical would cost you twice that. It helps build value with this. So even if you're not selling ACA, make yourself familiar with Health Sherpa. It's really easy to use and becomes a good way to sell and build value with the coverage he's presenting here.
Actually, let me take that a step further because I completely forgot about that. I do utilize that in most scenarios. So I'll quote off market, which we all are going to be anyway right now, unless they fall under a special enrollment period. But most people that you're going to talk to aren't, the subsidy material anyway. But not only do I talk to them about how the price point is different, I give them a breakdown. You see this $2,000 a month? This is for an HMO plan. Do you know what HMO means? Do you want to get a general practitioner in your hometown that you literally have to ask permission to go see anybody else? And then basically, if you cross state lines, you're out of network for everything. So one of the other value added, propositions here is that both of these entities fall under the First Health Network, which is a PPO. So Bangor, Maine to Anchorage, Alaska, San Diego, California to Tampa, Florida has reciprocity. And then, a lot of people are like, yeah, hey, you want to go see a podiatrist? Call up a podiatrist and make an appointment. You don't have to go see your primary care provider. But if you were to take this $2,000 option over here through the government, not only do you have a $6,000 deductible, you have a $9,000 out-of-pocket max, and you're on an HMO plan. Basically, and there's, it's 40% after the deductible is met. So basically, you're paying for everything. So you're paying $2,000 a month. You're paying for everything for that first $6,000 of that deductible, and then 40% of everything else until you get your out-of-pocket max. That's ridiculous. And then if you really want to take it a step further, you can do the math. All right, well, let's do the math. Let's take that premium of $2,000 a month, times it by 12, add in the cost of your deductible, and then your out-of-pocket max, divide it by 12. That was your actual cost of monthly insurance throughout the year if you had to utilize your insurance to its max potential. People are like, holy shit, like on one hand, you have a $19,000 policy. On the other hand, it ends up being like $47,000 if you actually have something significant happen. I mean, that's a pretty easy way to overcome some objectives. If I shouldn't say overcome objectives, it's more of an explanation to have them understand the futility of the situation, the futility of why this is better versus this. If that makes sense.